We're going to be talking about dividing some fractions, all right? The steps that we're going to use is you're going to keep the first fraction just the way it is. You're going to change the division sign to a multiplication sign, and then you're going to flip the second fraction to its reciprocal just by flipping it upside down. You're going to multiply the numerators and the denominators like we did in multiplication, and you're going to simplify just like we did in multiplication. So you're going to be hearing me in class say keep, change, flip. Keep, change, flip. So this is the keep, change, flip concept when you were dividing fractions. All right, let's look at why does this work. First of all, you want to know what can I do to get the denominator of 1, because we're dividing two fractions. We're saying 5/9 divided by 1/3. It's the same as if I were to take this whole fraction and say 5/9 divided by 1/3. This looks awkward. We want to make sure we get this into a 1. Let's change this denominator into a 1 so it's workable. Well, I know the one way to do it is to find the reciprocal. And every time you want to make it a 1, you're going to do what? If it's 1/3, I'm going to multiply it by its reciprocal or its opposite. So I'm going to flip the fraction over, and I know that 3 times 1 is 3, and 3 times 1 is 3, so 3/3 is the same thing as 1. So I have gotten this down here in my denominator as a 1. So, but remember, don't forget, whatever I do to the denominator, I have to do to the numerator. So if I'm multiplying this by 3 over 1, I have to multiply this by 3 over 1. And when I do that, I can see right away that I can cross reduce. 3 goes into 3 one time, 3 goes into 9 3 times, and 5 times 1 is 5, and I know that 3 times 1 is 3, so I know that 5/3 divided by 1 is the same thing as 5/3, okay? And if I wanted to bring it over and make it even more simplified, I know that 5 divided by 3 will go in there one whole time with 2 left over, and 3 is going to stay as my denominator, so it will be 1 2/3. So that explains why we always flip and multiply it out, because we have to multiply whatever the reciprocal is in the denominator to itself to make it into a 1. So let's try some of these. Let's try looking at 9/14 divided by 6. So I know that going to keep my 9/14 the same, okay? I'm going to change my division sign to a multiplication sign, and I'm going to flip 1/6 as 6 over 1 because I'm finding its reciprocal. And now I'm going to stop before I do anything else and see if there's any number that will go into these diagonally that I can cross reduce. It will help me so much so I don't have working with such large numbers. So I know nothing will go into 1 and 9 except for 1. Can't do anything about that. But I do know that 6 and 14 happen to be even numbers. So I can take a 2 out of both. It leaves me with a 3 here. 14 divided by 2 gives me a 7. So I know that 9 times 3 is 27. And I know that 7 times 1 is 7. This is an improper fraction. So what I want to do is say, how many times will 7 go into 27? And I know that it will go in there exactly 3 times, because 3 times 7 is 21. It leaves me with 6 left over, so this is my new numerator. So it's going to be 3 and 6 over, my numerator is 7, so my denominator, 7, so it's going to be 3 and 6/7. And that is in the simplest form it can go in. Here, I've got 2 mixed numbers, so I have to change the mixed numbers into improper fractions first. So I'm going to multiply 2 times 10 is 20, plus my 7, I've got 27 over 10. If you want to, we know that we're going to have to flip this and multiply it, but let's just go ahead and write it as a division problem first so we don't get it confused. 5 times 3 is 15, plus the 3 is going to leave me with 18/5. Now don't forget, it's still in the division problem. All I did here was change it into an improper fraction. So I'm going to leave 27/10 alone, just rewrite it. I'm going to change the division problem into a multiplication problem, and I'm going to use the reciprocal, or I'm going to multiply the reciprocal of 18/5, and that turns into 5/18. All right, let's look at this. I want to cross cancel because I see some large numbers here. And if I can cross cancel, that's great. If I look at the 10 and the 5, I know 5 goes into both of these. 5 goes into 5 one time, 5 goes into 10 twice. And I know at 18 and 27, I've got a 9. 9 is my greatest common factor. 9 goes into 27 3 times, and 9 will go into 18 twice. So I'm going to say 1 times 3 is going to give me 3. And I know that 2 times 2 will give me 4. So I cannot reduce it any further, so 3/4 is going to be my answer. I want you to try these two. Just pause the video and try them out, and then once you've finished, turn the video back on and we'll go through it together. All right. I know I've got a whole number, so I need to put this whole number over 1, okay? I've made it a fraction. Now, all I have to do is keep, change, flip. So I'm going to keep the 5/1. I'm going to change my division sign into a multiplication sign, and I'm going to flip 7/10 and make it into 10/7. I know by looking at it cross diagonally that I don't have anything that can go into 1 and 10. I have nothing in common with 5 and 7. So I'm just going to multiply it out just right across. 5 times 10 is 50. And 1 times 7 is 7. And I'm going to come up here and I'm going to divide 7 into 50 because reading it is 50 divided by 7. And I know 7 will go into 50 7 times. 7 times 7 is 49. With 1 left over. This is my new numerator. 7 is my whole number. My new numerator is 1, and my 7 I'm going to keep as my denominator, and so my answer will be 7 1/7, and that is in simplest form. Here I've got 3 1/9 divided by 6. Let's make this 6 go into a fraction. Let's put it like a fraction over 1. I've got to change this mixed number into an improper fraction by saying 9 times 3 is 27 plus 1 is 28/9. So I'm going to that's just staying the same. I've just renamed it into its improper fraction form. I'm going to change that division into multiplication, and I'm going to flip this 6/1 into 1/6. Now, I don't have anything that will go in 1 and 9 when I look on the diagonal, but I do know that 28 and 6 just happen to be even numbers. So I know I can take a 2 and put in there. So 2 goes into 28 14 times, and 2 goes into 6 3 times. So 14 times 1 is 14, and I know that 9 times 3 is going to give me 27. And when I look at this, I'm going to say there's really nothing that will go into 14 and 27 evenly. So I know that I've got it reduced down to the lowest that it can go. So my answer is going to be 14/27. Now you know it's a lot like multiplying fractions. All we have to do is just keep, change, flip. And we're going to be doing lots of these in some word problems. So make sure you review this video a little bit more if you need to, and just make sure that you've got the concepts down so we can go at it tomorrow in class.